Rainollon here. Today's another build showcase, and it's Hildryn Prime. Hildryn got some good quality of life changes and a new augment, and this build is about the new augment. It's pretty good. So let's start. Let's start with the augment first. So it's called, not this one, this one. Aegis Gale or Aegis Gale. It's the augment for her fourth ability. Yeah, Aegis Storm. Yep. And what it does is, when you use your fourth ability, your first ability gets alternative fire mode during the Aegis Storm, and the blast deals 50% of Hildryn maximum shield as additional damage, which is quite good. And this mod also scales with strength, which is nice. Not only shield, and also scales with strength. It's really good. Her fourth ability is now fine, I will say, most because of this augment. Now you can use Pillage in your fourth ability, so you can be in your fourth ability pretty much forever. And the amount of additional damage you get is, you can see in the very bottom, it's 2292, which is absurd amount of additional damage for her first ability. Not only that, you shoot 4 more projectiles, which is really good. You will see some absurd amount of numbers, and also the clear is quite nice with this. This is maybe the best AoE weapon in the game. After the AoEs got nerfed with the maximum ammo pool, this generally became the best AoE build right now, I will say. Mostly because it scales ridiculously. It's an exalted weapon, her first ability exalted weapon, and it synergies really well with her, especially how she has Pillage, which strips armor, and Shield. She can also be forever in her fourth ability, and she can also use Aviator to reduce the damage by 40%, which is really good. So let's start with the mods. Using Corrosion Projection helps with Pillage for quicker armor strip. Aviator, 40% damage reduction while in Airborne. You're gonna be in Airborne with your fourth ability, Aegis Storm. The mods I'm using: Prime Vigor, which gives you shield capacity, and Prime Redirection, which gives you shield capacity. Not only this gives you survivability and longer sustain your fourth ability, and also increases the damage for your augment on her fourth ability for your first ability. It's kind of complicated to say it. So because it scales 50% of your maximum shield, so it's quite nice having Vigor and Prime Redirection for this. Blind Range and Precision Intensify gives you a lot of ability strength to scale our Aegis Storm a lot. Stretch, Argon Reach, and Overextended for a lot of range, mostly because her first ability scales with AoE Explosion radius, and we nearly have 8 meter AoE with this, which is amazing. And not only that, Prime Fulmination works with this, so it ends up being like 10 meter radius and slightly more, which is one of the biggest reasons why you will build for range. For the Arcane Velocity is quite nice. On crit, 90% chance to get 120% fire rate on pistols, because we're going to be using her first ability, and her first ability is a pistol, and mods with pistol mods. This is quite good. You're going to be critting sometimes, and that's more than enough for you to get this buff, which will boost your fire rate for quite a lot. And the other is Multi-Augmented. Killing stuff gives you ability strength, which will boost the damage on your fourth ability, giving your first ability more damage. Your first ability is getting more damage, and your Pillage is getting more armor strip and shield back. So yeah, that's pretty nice synergy over here. And stat-wise, as you can see, duration is not even touched. Efficiency is fine. Really large range and solid strength. So yep. For the shards, I'm not using any shards. The shards I will highly recommend going for are definitely increased strength shards for buffing your first ability, fourth ability, and second ability. And now let's talk about her exalted secondary weapon. We're using, of course, Prime Fulmination, making the blast radius over 10, which is amazing. Galvanized Diffusion, multi-shot, kill stuff, getting more multi-shot. Hornet Strike for a lot of increased damage. Magnum Force, increased damage, and also negative accuracy. The negative accuracy is quite nice, making your AoE explosion spread around, making it bigger, so more clear and also increased damage. And Lethal Torrent for fire rate and multi-shot. These are pretty much the mandatory mods, I will say. For these guys over here, I'm kind of lazy to format this thing a couple of times. But if you really like her a lot and you want to do a lot more damage, you're going to be removing all of these 60s, because stash chance is quite low. As you can see here, it doesn't help at all. So you remove these guys and you put those bigger ones like Deep Freeze, which is the Frostbite version of this, but doesn't give you stash chance, which you don't really need it, and you get 3% more cold. For Scorch, use the Prime Heated Charge or the regular one for a lot of heat damage, and for the Pistol Pestilence, use the Toxin one, which is Pathogen rounds. That will give you a lot more increased damage, and you're going to be chunking even more. But if you're like me and you have like only 2 formas, this is more than enough. So yeah, that's pretty much her Exalted secondary. And time for me to show you in game how does this build work. So the moment you press your 4th ability, your first ability is going to turn on. And the way this ability works, you don't press your left click or hold your left click. You press the alternative mouse button, which is the middle mouse, the alternative fire mode, and it does this like burst shots, shoots a lot more projectiles and spreads it. And this does a lot of damage. Like I said, it gives you like over 2000 increased damage thanks to the augment. What happens is this. Yep, they just disappear. I can show you again. This time I won't armor strip them. So alternative fire mode, and you just shoot like this. It's, as you can see there, it's disgusting. Those are also level 195 Steel Path. Level 195 Steel Path Orc and Bellow Group dudes, and they're disappearing quite fast. It chunks a lot, it does really good damage. Yeah, it's quite nice. The way you mostly play with this is you're in your 4th ability, you're shooting, right? You always press your 2nd ability, press it again to get the shield back, and you just constantly repeat this process. Alternative fire mode, press 2. Alternative fire mode, press 2, and that's pretty much it. That's the entire gameplay with her and the new augment. For her 3rd ability, you really don't need to use this. It will help your team, but I will not recommend. You can remove it, replace it with something completely different. Some people use Nourish, some people use Thermal Sunder with the augment, giving yourself more heat and cold. Some people use Eclipse to give yourself 75% damage reduction. There's a lot of synergies and helmet abilities that can make this build even stronger, but I generally didn't test it. I don't play her that much like I used to, but on paper, that's pretty much how the build will work in general. All of these mods are really good on her. The augment is really good. The aura and the Exilis aura are all going to be there. Most people that are going to make this build are just generally going to use a lot of range and strength. That's pretty much it. A lot of increased damage for her Exalted weapon, and just spamming your alternative fire mode and spamming your 2nd ability. So that's it. That's my Hildryn Prime Aegis Gale build. I hope you enjoyed the build, and thank you everybody for watching. Leave a like, sub, and see you all next time. Thank you. Goodbye.